Great. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so welcome to this first introduction to this Mexican UN model. First of all, what's a UN model? Does anyone have like an idea? Maybe a second, like a person who has been in a lot of UN models. What about you, Andres? Can you tell us what's a UN model? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it is a 2-day or 3-day. How to describe it?
Like an event.
Like sessions, like many sessions, 2 or 3 days, where delegates or the chiefs of state discuss about topics that are relevant and that are a reality in the world. So they try to get to a resolution paper that it is like a recommendation or a solution for that specific problem where different countries agree on the topics and on the resolution paper. That resolution pages they sent it to the UN.
Yeah.
They look at it and see if they can apply it on the real life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much, Andres. So yeah, what Andres said was basically what a UN model is. So a UN model, it's a model of the United Nations. It's like a simulation of what the real delegates do in the real life sessions in the United Nations. So as a country, you represent like the whole idea of the country over a certain topic. For example, if we're debating about, I don't know, climate change and I'm representing Mexico, I have to investigate everything that Mexico has done or has like any strong opinion or any suggestion about what Mexico is doing in the climate change topics, and then I will try to debate with that information within the sessions of the UN model as if I was Mexico. So that was basically it. There is like a story about the United Nations. First, it was the League of the Nations after the World War I, if I'm not mistaken, and then there was the first International Assembly in USA in 1923, and then the Second World War comes, and then it was the creation of the UN with a single purpose of bringing peace within the whole nations, like the absence of war, and then we create like the nations created this huge forum, which is the United Nations, to bring peace within the whole nations and fight for the human rights for everyone. And after that, the first UN model was held in Pennsylvania in 1947, but since then, like I think every UN model has their own like protocols, and they can like adapt and readjust from like the needs of what you think is more practical, blah blah blah. I don't know. I'm not sure if you guys have read the protocol already. I think you have the document, but if it will be really useful for you guys that after maybe this meeting or tomorrow you maybe read it a little bit and then text us if you have like any doubts, because in there you can see it's like a small dialogue of the steps you need to follow in order to debate according to the protocol. If you guys have any doubts while I'm talking, just write it in the chat, and then we'll go through that later. Okay. So we have all of us like the whole chart of the United Nations, like the whole how do you say, like the hierarchies. Is the head of the UN is the General Secretariat. Right now is Antonio Guterres. He is from Portugal, and before him was, I think he was Japanese or South Korean. I'm not really sure. Ban Ki-moon. And after that is the organization committee and chairs, like the president of the General Assembly and the presidents of every small committee. And after that comes the delegations and the delegates, which is like the representatives of every country. It's like the diplomat body of every country that are sent to the United Nations to discuss the ideas I'm representing the government and the society overall. So yeah, right now he is Antonio Guterres. I am my friend. He is right now the Secretary General of the United Nations, and he is like the one who approves like all the resolutions and everything. Right now, our Secretary General, maybe you will meet him at the ceremony of like the opening ceremony of the moon. But his name is Luis Antonio, and he's really nice. He's also from the academic team from this network. And yeah, so he will be in charge of like approving the resolutions, like in the voting sessions and everything, but we will go through that later. Okay, so then is the organization committee and chairs. The organization committee is in charge of different areas such as like logistics, communication, sponsorship in order to make the model UN possible. The chairs in charge of the international dynamic of each committee and are usually composed by 3 members: president, moderator, and conference officer. So you as a delegate you are inside a committee, and that committee has like 3 main people in there: the president, who is in charge of like the protocol and that everything will be held according to it, and then the moderator, who's going to be the one who talks the most. Like right now, Regina is the moderator of the UNHCR. So she's in charge of guiding the debate, of saying who's talking first, who's talking second, blah blah blah, and they're in charge of all of that. And the conference officers is very important because they're in charge, like Otto. They're in charge of actually like writing everything down and making the list and everything, so everything will be like more like in order. And yeah.
Just a comment, Rebecca was talking about your general secretary of this model. You can see him in this photo. He is in the middle. That is our secretary general. No, this one? Yes.
Okay.
There he is. You will meet him in the model, but well, just for you to picture how he is like physically, he is our secretary general.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Sophie. But yeah, so you'll see him around, I guess, like very soon. From here, is everyone like understanding good? Have anyone like a doubt or anything that we can help? Like just writing the chat or anything, whatever. Or maybe you can, I don't know. Is everything clear right now for everyone? Yes, no, yes, okay. I'll just continue. And then comes you guys, the delegation and the representatives. The representations of the head of state, which are you, they are the representation of the diplomats of each country, and in a model UN, a delegate has the duty of assuming the diplomatic position of the assigned nation, promoting its values and proposing solutions according to their foreign policy. So here's a tip. Let's say that in a, I don't know, like in a human rights committee, I am representing China. But I know that China has not really advanced material when it comes to human rights. But me, Rebecca, I am. So I know that this and this is not possible. I'm a person in pro of human rights, blah, blah, but as I'm representing China, I need to assume Chinese delegation's position. So let's say, I mean, it's really, you kind of need to stick to real life, because you're doing like an investigation and like a really nice survey about how Chinese human rights are in this moment, and what the Chinese nation is doing to protect human rights. But yeah, like let's say I will not agree of what China is doing right now for human rights, but the Chinese government does. So I need to represent Chinese ideals in these topics. So like you kind of need to stick to real life in this one. So it will make it like more interesting and more prone to debate, because it will be really boring if a debate will be like just 20 people agreeing on the same thing. You need to like debate and have different ideas. That's why like we're all gathering together, are coming from different countries, different ideas, different backgrounds. So it'll make it like more interesting and more I don't know, like more of a debate instead of just all agreeing in something. So it kind of makes it fun when you kind of stick to your country, either like even if you're not like completely agreeing with what the country is saying. But yeah, so that's what makes it like really fun, actually. Okay, so how does the moon works? So most of the moons are divided into sessions, which are such as the duration of the model. The sessions are like more or less like 10 minutes long, and they have like a break in between. And since you're in home, you can just like turn off your camera, log out of the session, and just go for a snack or whatever, or walk a little bit if you're tired of being sitting down a lot of time. The sessions will depend on the moment of the delegating which the committee is currently in. This refers to the protocol of each model. Later on, Sophie will guide you through the protocol, but the protocol is also divided in parts. And in order for the debate to work correctly, you need to follow like those protocol divisions, such as like I don't know. It's a bit like diplomatic, but you kind of need to ask for permission to talk, and then first you need to introduce the topics, and then you need to introduce your opinion on topics and your backgrounds and everything, and then you kind of start a debate and everything. But you will see later something very clearly. In a moon, there's an opening ceremony, the conference, the award ceremony, and the closing ceremony. So at first, like I think it's at 9 a.m. Mexican time, there's an opening ceremony. Well, like it's very protocolary. I don't know if that word is correct, but anyway, where I don't know, like the president speaks or the secretary general speaks and gives you up like a few words, like welcoming words, and after that you start the sessions. The sessions are like 1.10 minutes long, and after that it's a break, and the first day we will have like a conference held in English and in Spanish, so you guys, they're talking about like really interesting topics. Then at the end there's like the award ceremony and the closing ceremony, so we kind of give awards to the best delegates, like a honorific mention and an award for the best delegate, and that's also pretty fun, kind of motivates you. For me, it doesn't really mean a thing, because like I think a good delegate is not the one that like wins all the awards and everything, but like the one that guides the debate, like the one that learns the most about the topics. That's actually what we're here from. I think the importance of a UN model is that we all learn from the different backgrounds, and I don't know, like the debate is really fun also. I think it's the most important part. So don't really focus on the prize. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so right now, does anyone have a question so far? No? Are you all good? Great, perfect.
Sure. Well, in case that you have any question and we are like done with this reunion, you can ask to the members of the chair of your committee. And if you want to, you can also contact either one of us or anyone in the organization committee. We are here to clarify any doubts, any situations, and we're here basically to serve you. We want you to feel welcome in our model, and we want you to have a great experience. So if there are no doubts right now, well, it is fine. But if you have one, you can ask to the chair or any member of the organization committee.
Yeah, you kind of need to dress like you can use your flip flops, but in the top, like from the camera, the top on, yes, as we can see here in the camera, you kind of need to wear like
formal clothing,
like office clothes, like delegate clothes, like maybe like a blazer and like a nice blues or whatever you feel comfortable in. But yeah, you kind of need to dress according to the model. Yeah, thank you very much for your question.
yes.
Yeah, that was important. Yeah.
And
Also, we want to ask you, in the UN model, it will be really important for you guys to turn your camera on, so everyone can see your faces, because I think it's more polite, and also I think it's important for you to see who are you talking to, and that will be like dynamic. If you see the person who you're debating with and blah blah, I think it will be more interesting if you guys like will turn on the camera with your mic off, and then when you participate, you just put it on, etc. So
Yes.
it will
And
be really,
adding
yeah, really.
to what Rebecca is just saying, it is really, really, really important for you to turn on your cameras, because the voting for every motion and everything in the actual sessions is going to be by raising your hand. So if you don't have your camera on, then we can't see you. So it is really difficult. If you have like a truly situation that you cannot turn on your camera at all during the model, you can tell to the members of your chair, so that we can take that into consideration and see what we can do. But it is really important for you to turn on your camera, sorry, during the model. And there is another doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joao says, when my time to speak arrives, I need to refer to myself as a delegation of New Zealand, for example. Yes. Let's
Yeah.
remind everyone here that you are representing a nation. Therefore, you're not talking about yourself, so you need to speak always in third person. You cannot say I, me, you, he, she, we. No, because we in the committee are not ourselves. We are representing the values and the foreign policy of a nation. So every time you speak, it must be in third person. Is there a doubt regarding
Yeah.
this? Especially the people from other countries, because we know the protocol is kind of different between countries. So if there is any doubt regarding this, here we are. Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah. I think we can start with the other.
yes, seems not. So I am moving forward to the protocol part of this training session. So, um, the members of your chair already sent you this document so that you guys can actually know what to do in the model. As Rebecca was saying, this session is divided into different parts, which has a specific goal in the debate. So, first of all, I am going to talk sorry, I am going to talk about the members of the chair and what they will be doing inside of the model. Um, sorry. First of all, we have the president, who is the responsible uh, to the maintenance of diplomatic positions of delegations at all times, because this is really formal, so everyone must be speaking in a formal language. And he or she also carries out different extraordinary and important decisions. For example, how much time will the delegate be speaking? That is a decision of the president. Also, he or she will take the roll call at the beginning of each session. uh, we will review that part later on. Then we have the moderator, which basically guides the course of the debate. He or she yields the word to the delegations and has the time that has passed of each motion, or the time that a delegate has already spoken, and all of that. Uh, in case that the delegates are taking the topic or the discussion into something that is not actually important for the solution for the topic, then the moderator can tell the delegates to um, actually focus on the important things, or what the topic must come to an agreement. So the moderator, well, guides the delegates. And then we have the conference officer, which is in charge of writing a record about the debate, which is basically kind of a summary of everything that is happening. Also, he collaborates. He corroborates the information that the delegate is given. For example, Rebecca was mentioning previously that the delegation of China, for example, is a delegation that has a specific and kind of unique positions regarding human rights. So, if the delegate of China is saying, "Oh, the delegation of China agrees on respecting all human rights and will take action," and that is not realistic. So the conference officer will take that into consideration and will tell the chair so that the delegation of China can assume its actual diplomatic position. And also, um, he will be in charge of a kind of a program that will be projected during the sessions, that it will tell the time of each motion and the time that each delegate has to speak and everything. If there is any doubt, you guys can please type it in the chat. And I don't know if Rebecca can tell me if there is any doubt because I can't see it right now. If yes, if anyone has a doubt, just type it, and Rebecca will tell me. Then we have the debate concept, which is actually the protocol. As Rebecca mentioned, the sessions are divided into these kind of motions, which have specific goals in the debate and the course of the sessions. And in this model, we have um, a lot, which are open the session, close the session, open the speakers list, the moderated caucus, the simple caucus, extensions for moderated or simple caucus, extraordinary session of questions, introducing the working paper, reading the working paper, introducing the draft resolution, reading the draft resolution, and voting process. We will review everything of that later on, and each motion has a goal, as I said, but that will be a part of I will explain later. So then we have the points. Unlike the motions, the points are something that a delegate can use if there are any doubts or if there is any personal situation of the delegate him herself. So we have 3 points: the point of order, the point of personal privilege, and the point of parliamentary inquiry. Um, Later on, I will explain to you how can you use them and in what occasion. And finally, we have the rights, which is something or a faculty that a delegation has. Sorry, my dog. And in our model, we have one right for UNHCR and 2 rights for the Security Council. The UNHCR only has a right to reply. The Security Council has a right to reply and right of veto. I will explain that later on. Are there any questions as far as now? Perfect. Then we will begin specifically with the protocol itself and explaining what everything is. The first motion, or the first thing, it is not a motion, but the first thing that will happen is the opening of the session. Each session, the president will open the session with this dialogue. Um, it is, you can read it. It is not actually quite important. I just need to explain what it is. And in the first session of each day, the president will introduce the members of the chair. I think there is a doubt.
Yeah, Andres asking, in a simple caucus session, how will we be able to communicate between delegations? Will we be in a breakout room or in the same room? Yeah,
Kind of.
we're thinking about making breakout rooms. Yeah.
Just wait a little bit. I will explain it later. It is just that I want to explain everything in order, but I will get to that. Okay. Then This is the opening session. The president will open the session. In the first session of each day, the president will introduce the members of the chair, and then the roll call will be taken. The roll call is really important because you guys representing a delegation which is either present or present and voting in the committee. You need to check that specifically if you are in the Security Council, because the president will call every nation by its official name in alphabetical order and will tell them to say present or present and voting according to the position of the delegation in the committee, which can be Security Council or UNHCR. So you guys need to turn on your microphone and say present or present and voting. So you guys need to know what is the position of your country in the committee that you are part of. And that is basically then the president will say how many delegations are present and will officially uh, open the session. Then we have the motion to establish the agenda. This is automatically, and as you guys know, you have two topics in each committee. So you guys get to choose in what order are you going to discuss these topics. It is not necessarily to be A then B. It can be B and then A according to your interests, and that is why this motion or step in the protocol is really important. The president will tell you how the topics that you are discussing in the agenda, and then will yield the floor to the moderator to have the voting process to sorry first to ask for delegates to establish their tentative order of the agenda, and then for the voting process. I will explain this a little further. You as delegate have the right to is to turn on your microphone and establish what you want to be the order of the agenda. So let's say I am the delegation of France and I want the topic B to go first and then topic A to go second. So the when the moderator says this dialogue, um, delegations who want to expose their tentative order of the agenda, please raise your hand. You're going to raise your hand, and then the moderator will tell, oh, the delegation of France, delegation of China, and delegation of Niger. So those delegations will be the ones who are going to talk about why do they want their specific order of the agenda. I can say, for example, I am the delegation of France, so the moderator tells me to speak, and I am going to tell the delegation of France wants to open, first of all, the topic B in the agenda because it is really important for the international community, and last but not least, topic A. And that's it. You explain basically why you want that order. And that happens for every delegation who wants to establish their tentative order of the agenda, and then the voting process will happen, where the moderator will tell the delegates in favor, against, or abstain delegates to establish their votes on the tentative order of the agenda, and it is an elimination process. So let's say the moderator tells delegates, we will now vote to establish the order of the agenda. Delegations in favor of opening topic A as first in the agenda, raise your hand. And if you want the topic A to be discussed first, then you are going to raise your hand. If not, you are not going to raise your hand. She will say votes in favor. You're going to raise your hand. Votes against. If you don't want to, then you're going to raise your hand, and abstentions. If you really don't care about the order of the agenda, you can abstain, and in this part, you raise your hand. So let's say that we have 12 delegates and only 3 voted in favor of opening A as first in the agenda. Then, since 3 is not the majority at all, then it of course will not be the first discussed. So then the moderator will tell to this same voting process for topic B. So delegations in favor of opening topic B as first in the agenda, votes in favor, and if you want the topic B to be discussed first, you're going to raise your hand. I guess you're going to raise your hand if you want to, and abstentions, same. So let's say that 9 delegations voted in favor. So then we know that topic B will be discussed at first in the agenda. And then the president will say the order of the agenda will be the following. On first place, we will discuss topic B, and second place, topic A. Is there any question right now? Seems not. No. Well, then we have something that is really important, which is the speakers list. This is a motion that you as a delegate have the possibility to introduce. So then the president will recommend to open this motion, which he will say specifically this line. Delegate, the chair recommends a motion to open the speakers list, and then the president will yield the floor to the moderator. And the moderator will say, delegates, the floor is open. Are there any points or motions that you would like to establish? And then if you want to establish a motion, you raise your hand. So if you want to establish this session, you raise your hand and the moderator will give you the word. Let's say I am now the delegation of Argentina. Delegation of Argentina, and this is really important. You need to say, and I am going to ask Rebecca to help me so that you guys can see. You will be the moderator, and I will be Argentina.
Let's say I'm Brazil.
Sorry?
Great. Let's say I'm Brazil.
Oh, perfect.
Great.
Delegates, the floor is open. Are there any points or motions that you would like to establish? Delegation of Brazil.
Motion of procedure
Establish.
to open the speakers list.
For how long?
As the time that the chair recommends.
Perfect. It is really important to say how much time do you want this motion to be. We recommend you to say this for as long as the chair recommends, because then the president will decide how much time. It is usually about 1 minute and 1 minute and 30 seconds, but the president will decide. So this is a recommendation. You can say the time that you want, but usually then the president says, now this time. So it is kind of easier. So let's say the president said 1 minute will be in order. And then the moderator will say, Delegation of Brazil, would you like to reestablish?
Yes, motion of procedure.
Establish.
To open the speakers list for a minute and a half.
In here I said 1, but I'm going to say yes.
Okay, for
yeah. Okay, for 1 minute, yes, delegate, you are in order. Now, this is something really important. A delegation must always second a motion in order for a motion to pass. So let's say the moderator says, thank you, delegation of Brazil. You are in order, delegation who seconds the motion, and no delegation seconds the motion, so it will not pass. But it is important for the motion to pass. So let's say the delegation of France seconded the motion. And then the moderator will call for the voting process for this motion, which is votes in favor. You raise your hand if you want to. Votes against, same thing, and abstentions. This, just a general recommendation, the speakers list needs to pass. O sea, needs to pass. And that is sorry. Needs to pass, because if it does not pass, then we will not move on the debate. So please vote in favor.
Nonsense.
Yes, so please vote in favor. Then we have the speakers list itself. That was the motion to open a speakers list. Now we have the speakers list itself. The moderator will want or will call. There's a doubt.
No, I texted.
Oh, sorry. Okay. The moderator will call for the delegates who want to be added to the speakers list to raise their hand. Now, another recommendation. I recommend you to be part of the speakers list, because in the speakers list each delegate has a specific time, which in this example is of 1 minute, to talk about their position in the committee. A lot of people and a lot of delegates actually read their position paper, because over there you have the specific position of your delegation, but you can speak about anything, just that it is involved with the topic. All right. So oh, sorry. It is just that I get notified if there is something in the chat, but I cannot see it. So it is.
No, yeah, don't worry.
Thank you. So, it is really important for you to state your position, because if you do not state your position, then the committee will not know what to do regarding your country. So, I recommend you specifically to be part of the speakers list, and to oh, this is also important. If you finish your time, or you finish talking, and let's say you have 15 seconds left, it doesn't matter. Even though the speakers list is for 1 minute or 1 minute and a half, or whatever the president considered, if you don't want to speak for the whole time, it is fine. And there is a process for that. So, here the moderator says delegations who want to be added to the speaker list, please with your placards, and then it's going to state every delegation and will be added to the speaker list. Then, if you want to be added but you um, did not raise your hand or whatever, you can send a private message to the chair. And right now, I'm going to speak over here. If you have time left, the president is going to tell you only in the first session, delegate, you have, let's say, 30 seconds left. The chair reminds you that you have two options: yield the time to the chair or yield the time to another delegation. In here, if you yield the time to the chair, then you basically it is that time is basically lost. It will not happen anything to it. It is just that you finished and that's it. And if you want to yield the time to another delegation, just make sure that you already told that delegation that you wanted to yield that time, and that that delegation agreed, because the moderator is going to ask that delegation if he or she, or well, in this case, that delegation wants to accept the time or not. If this time is not accepted, then the time will be automatically dealt to the chair. And also, in general, I am going to say this because this is really important. Do not talk if the chair has not give you the word. It is really important because personally, I have experienced that some delegates just talk out of nowhere, and that is why we have a protocol. So please, if you have something to say, always raise your hand and wait until the moderator gives you the word.
Yeah, also adding to this, what Sophie is saying, you cannot establish personal or direct contact to any other delegation. So, for example, if I'm delegation of Brazil and the delegation of France asks me a question, I cannot like directly answer. I just need to wait for like the moment of the debate will start. So I will answer, but like in a diplomatic way, like answering to the delegation of France, the delegation of Brazil says this and this and this. So you cannot actually like start a conversation out of the blue with another delegation. But yeah, it will
Yes.
later.
Thank you, Rebecca. Then we have the extraordinary session of questions. Every time a delegate deals their time either to the chair or to another delegation or whatever, when that time is up, then automatically we'll be having an extraordinary session of questions. In here, the moderator will say, delegates, we are now in an extraordinary session of questions to the delegation of France. Delegations who want to ask a question, please raise your hands. Over here, if you want to ask a question, you raise your hand and you wait for the moderator to give you the word. So let's say I am the delegation of the United States, but the moderator told the delegation of China to establish their question first. It doesn't matter. You just wait until that question is made and the delegate answers, so that the moderator will ask again if any other delegation wants to ask a question, and then you will raise your hand. until the moderator tells you to establish your question. So here is the dialogue. Delegation of France established, and the delegate needs to answer the question. This is as much questions as the president wants. So let's say that there are 4 questions and the president already thinks that that is too much. So then the president will say, no more questions. If you want to ask a question, please either wait for a debate or moderated caucus or simple caucus, or send a private message to the delegation of whatever. So, and if no delegations wants to make a question, then the protocol will move on. Then we have the moderated caucus. The moderated caucus is the actual debate, and it is really important because it is moderated, as the name says, and it is where it usually is between 15 and 20 minutes, but that will be also according to what the president says, and it is like I don't know how to say it. It is something. Sorry. It is just that my cat all ran and distracted me. Sorry. It is the moderated caucus. Um, it is the actual debate, and it is really important for you to know that you need to be concise in your participations, because let's say the caucus is 20 minutes and there are 25 delegates. So if you spend 1 minute talking, then it will be 19 minutes for 24 delegates, which is nothing basically. So please be concise in your participations in the moderated caucus. Be as short as possible, and because this is really quick. This is small interventions that are important, and let's also remember that it does not matter if you talk a lot of you or if you talk more or less. It is really important that when you talk, you give important points for the debate. It doesn't matter if the delegation of the United States of America spoke 5 times and you spoke 2, but you gave better points than the delegation of the United States of America, then you will have like a better overall um overall like grading for the awards or whatever. So that is really important. And the process is basically the same. The moderator will say, delegates, the floor is now open. Are there any points that you would like to establish? A delegation will raise their hand, and it is the same process to establish, to open a matter caucus, for how long the president will say, for 20 minutes or whatever, and there will be a delegation who will second the motion. Vote. Then the moderator will have the voting process, votes in favor, against, and abstentions. Now, and that is something I didn't say previously. Uh, During the moderated caucus and basically in a lot of the motions, when the time of the moderated caucus starts, the first delegation to speak is the delegation who proposed the motion. Then the second delegation to speak is the delegation who seconded the motion. And that applies also for the speakers list. It is just that I forgot to tell you guys. And after that, then you will raise your hand if you want to speak, and the moderator will yield the word, sorry. And that is until the time is over. And now, this, please pay attention, the simple caucus. The simple caucus is a part of the debate where the delegates get together and are able to discuss the topic without the intervention of the moderator yielding the word. Being so, the delegates are free to interact with one another, and however, they still have to maintain a diplomatic position and speak in the official language of the committee. So right now, your committees are in English. By no chance you need to be talking in Spanish. That is really important. And there always has to be diplomatic positions in the committees. Then we know that due to the online modality and this way of the that we are kind of working, it is really difficult to have these kind of interactions. So this is how it will work. Depending on the president, on the chair, and the chair considerations, um, the president will recommend a motion to open a simple caucus. Then the process will be the same, and the chair will have two specific links. Let's say you have the main session. The moderator has already scheduled a meeting, and the conference officer has scheduled another meeting. So then you will have the chance to join to either one of the other meetings that the chair has prepared, or to stay in the original session. Okay? So this is really important because the resolutions are usually worked in blocks. A block is like a group of delegations who are agreeing on the resolutions that they are proposing. So then they need to work together in order to reach a possible solution. So that is why we have these different meetings, and always there should be a member of the chair present at all times during this simple caucus. So let's say that we are in the Security Council and we have three blocks: the block of Russia, the block of the United States, and the block of the United Kingdom, let's say. Then the perhaps the block of the United States will be working in the original session. Then the block of Russia will work in the session provided by the moderator, and the block by the word sorry the block led by the United Kingdom will work in the session provided by the conference officer. Okay, so that is a hypothetical case, but let's say that I am Canada and I am neutral and I want to sign all of the resolutions and I want to work with all of them. It doesn't matter. You can be working in the three of the blocks and you can be moving in every session. So let's say I am Canada and I want to see how United States is working. So I go in the meeting of the United States, and now I want to see how is Russia doing. So then I join the session of Russia. So you can be interacting that way. Okay? Are there any doubts right now? Because this is kind of confusing. No? All right. Well, um, then we have the same thing. This protocol thing. The moderator will open the floor and ask for points or motions. A delegate will raise their hand, will uh, establish the motion, then it will be voted and everything. Sorry. When it already passes, then the simple caucus will begin. It is really important for you to know that a simple caucus has this specific goal, that is to actually write either the possible working paper or the possible resolution. I will explain that to you later, but you cannot open a simple caucus like in the after one delegate has spoken in the speakers list, because the simple caucus is for the resolutions by themselves. Um, you cannot be, well, there can be the chance that some delegates are um, arguing about specific points of the resolution. That is fine, but the goal of the simple caucus is to write down the proposals, because you already had the speakers list and the moderated caucus to discuss everything else. The simple caucus is specifically for writing. um, but if there are conflicts or whatever, of course you will debate what to do in case of a conflict emerging in the discussion. So then you will join your reunion, or you will join different chat rooms or whatever, and then the time of the simple caucus will expire. And when it expires, sorry, this is the I am not actually saying everything that is said here because you have it. So I invite you to read everything that you have in this document, because that is specifically what the chair will say in every session. And also, I forgot something. In the first simple caucus, of your in the first simple caucus of each topic, you will need to assign a delegation per block to be a representative of that block. So let's say I am from the block of the United States and I am Belgium. So perhaps in the simple caucus, we are kind of negotiating what delegation will be the representative of the bloc. Then I, as Belgium, get to be the representative of that bloc. Then what I will be in charge of is to actually, when the time of the mother of the simple caucus expires, to tell the whole committee the advances that we had in our blog and if any topic was discussed. It is a brief summary so that we all get to know what is happening in the committee. Because even though we can be moving into all of the reunions, we cannot be there at all times because it is basically impossible. So that is why it is really important to have a delegate that it is a representative of each block. We recommend you that it is not the sponsor of the block, because we want to have like a lot of participation of all the delegates, but it will depend on you. So when the time expires, you all of you go back to the original session to do whatever is next. So, are there any questions now? Well, still seems not. So, the time expires, and let's say that you want to extend that time. This is applied for both the moderated or the simple caucus. When the time expires and you want to extend the time of that moderated or simple caucus, then you will do this motion. You will introduce this motion. The process is the same, and this is really important to establish that the time of an extension always needs to be less than the original time. So let's say I want to extend the time of the simple caucus. So, and the simple caucus was of 20 minutes. Then the simple caucus, the extension of the simple caucus must be of uh, at least, or sorry, a maximum of 19 minutes and 59 seconds. It should be at least 1 second less. So, but usually the president recommends the time. So that is up to you of what time do you want to propose, or do you want to uh, extend the time for the moderated or simple caucus for as long as the chair recommends, which is the most recommended action. Then there will be the voting process, and if it passes, then you will have an extension. If it does not pass, then the moderator will open the floor again or continue with the speakers list if there is no motion introduced. Then we have the motion to introduce the possible working paper. The possible working paper is what you work on during the simple caucus, and it has to have at least 5 possible solutions or viable solutions, and it does not necessarily need to have the format that we will provide to you on Monday. Um, but it needs to have at least these 5 possible and viable solutions. And the president will check them and will determine if they are viable or not. And if they are not, then the president will tell you what to change in order for that solutions to be viable and possible. So let's say they are all possible or whatever, then you need to introduce the motion to introduce a working paper, a possible working paper, sorry. Then the same dialogue happens. If you want to propose this motion, you raise your hand and the moderator will give you the word and you will introduce this motion. The voting process will be held, and if the motion passes, then the president will say this dialogue. Delegates, the chair has received a possible working paper and it has been approved. From now on, you should refer to it as working paper, either A1, A2, A3, A4, or B1, B2, B3, B4, whatever. And this is really important. The working papers are named uh, according to the letter of the topic they are discussing and the order in which they were handed to the chair. So let's say the block, yes.
So the working paper is made by each delegation, or is it just one?
Um, Usually there are, it is one working paper per block. So if you are the United States and you have your own working paper with collaboration of the delegation of France, the delegation of Canada, the delegation of the United Kingdom, the delegation of Mexico, and whatever, all of that block will have only one working paper. So let's say we have two blocks, then we will have two working papers because the solutions are not the same ones. The proposals are different, so that is why we need to have um, more working papers if that is the case, and that is usually the case. So I don't know if it is clear, Sarah. Perfect. So where was I? Okay. Then it will be named in the topic that we're discussing. So let's say we're discussing topic A, and the block of the United States sent the working paper first. So then that working paper will be named A1. If then the chair received secondly the working paper of the block of China, then it will be named working paper A2. So just to take that into consideration. Then when the working paper is approved, you need to introduce this motion, which is to read the working papers. Over here, it is the same protocol. You propose a motion, and there's the voting process, a delegation most second the motion, and everything of that. And what it is really important for the reading of the working papers is that two delegations of that block of that working paper will be in charge of reading this document. So let's say we have only two blocks and two working papers, working paper A1 and working paper A2. The president will ask for the delegations that are part of that working paper to raise their hands if they want to read that working paper. So let's say, let's do this exercise. Delegations that want to read the working paper A1, please raise your hand. Thank you, delegation of the United States, and thank you, delegation of Canada. If there are more than two, then there will be a voting process to know what two delegations will read the working papers, which is the delegations that have the most votes. But we recommend you to assign the delegations that want to read the working papers when you are in the simple caucus, because it is easier than having this voting process. So let's say delegations of France, the delegation of the United States. Then the president will ask again delegations that want to read the working paper, sorry, A2, because we are now speaking about the other block. Please raise your hands. Thank you, delegation of China, and thank you, delegation of Russia. So first, the the working paper A1 will be read first because it is the first one that was received, A1. So those delegations will read that working paper, will turn on their microphone, and it is really important for you to know that you need to read exactly what is written on that working paper. Because if you don't read exactly what it is, or you add something, then either the chair tells you that please read the working paper as it is written, or if depending on the case, you can receive a warning. This is because the president already approved that working paper. And if you actually changed something that is really important, then it is something that the president did not approve. So that is why you receive a warning depending of the case. But if you are reading this working paper, you need to be really careful. Then when the delegations that we are reading the first working paper, are done reading, there will be an undefined session of questions because we want to assure that there are no doubts regarding this working paper. So these questions are unlimited. There can be either one or there can be 20 according to the criteria of the president as well. But if you want to ask a question, then the president will say, uh, delegates who want to ask a question to the reading delegations, please raise your hand. And if you want to ask a question, you raise your hand until there are no more questions. When there are no more questions, then the delegate will say, "Thank you, delegates. You may all turn off your microphone." Sorry. And this will repeat for as much working papers we will have. So if we have one, this will only happen once. If we have two, it will happen twice. If we have three, it will happen 3 times, and it will depend. And we please do not have more than three. It will be basically impossible. Just a recommendation. Now, draft resolution. The difference between a working paper and a draft resolution is that a draft resolution already has a format. This format we will be given to you on Monday, but that is basically the only difference. It is already formal and it has all the elements that a real resolution of the actual United Nations uh, has. So that is basically the difference, and um, the draft resolution need to be approved now, not only by the president, but also by the academic committee. This is in order to know that the solutions are basically perfect or as much perfect as we can have, and that's it. That is the difference. And if the academic committee approves that draft resolution, then it will be recognized as. This is the dialogue. The president will say, delegates, according to the academic committee judgment, the working paper A1 has now the status of draft resolution. This draft resolution can now be voted on. Okay? The difference of, well, I will explain that later. This motion to read the draft resolution is optional. If you want to read it again, or if there have been changes or whatever, you can read it. If not, then you will move on. But the president has the responsibility to remind all the delegates that you have the option to ask the for a motion to read the draft resolution. And if this is needed, or if you consider that it is necessary, then you will do so, and you will have this same protocol. You will propose a motion, a delegation will second the motion, and there will be a voting process, and it will need to have a majority for the motion to pass. There you will read the draft resolutions, which is basically the same as a working paper, but there is only one thing different. If you decided to read the draft resolution, you will not have a session of questions, an unlimited session of questions. You will have a brief round of observations. This is something important if you noticed that there were kind of grammatical or typographical mistakes, or if you noticed that a delegation changed something important about the resolution. Let's say that you can make these two kind of observations. Let's say that the word council was misspelled, then you can have an observation so that that can be changed, and it changes. But let's say that the delegation of China had in the working paper and the draft resolution that was approved by the president and by the academic team that it will donate 0.04% of their GPI to the cause. It is not going to happen, but it is a hypothetical case. And let's say that it was 4.04%, and the delegate of China changed it to 0.02%, which is, it seems nothing, but it is actually really important. So let's say you notice that, you can give an observation, and then the delegation of China and the reading delegations of that draft resolution will receive a warning. So that is basically the difference between reading the working paper and reading the draft resolution. Then we have the voting process. When the draft resolution has already passed, I think there is a doubt. Oh, sorry. When the draft resolution is read, or basically everyone has agreed on there, it has no observation, it is basically perfect, then the president will state this: delegates, the only motion in order is to open the voting process for the draft resolution or resolutions. It depends on how many draft resolutions are you going to have in the committee. And over here you will have 3 rounds of voting. In the first 2 rounds, you can vote in favor, against, in favor with right of explanation, against with right of explanation, and abstentions. And in the third round, speaking about UNHCR, specifically, you can vote only in favor or against. In the Security Council, we have something really specific about this. Everything is the same. The 2 first rounds are the same, and the third round there is something that changes, because if P5 members, if one of the P5 members, which are China, USA, the UK, France, and Russia, usually vote against, it is because they want to veto the resolution. But we know that maybe you only don't want to vote in favor, so then you can have an abstention. So in the Security Council specifically, you will have the first 2 rounds the same, and the third round, the non-members of the Security Council will vote in favor or against, but the P5 members can vote in favor, against, or abstention. Just because we don't want them to vote in favor if they are not in favor, but to vote against and not veto the resolution. So this is the process, the same one. Here, the president will explain everything, and it is also important for you to know that even when the president is in charge of this process, at least one member of the secretariat will be present, just to see that everything is being held correctly. So, now explaining specifically the rights of explanation. If you want to explain, it is basically if you want to explain your vote. So, let's say that you are United States and your draft resolution is being now voted on, and you voted in favor, and you want to say in favor with right of explanation, because you want to explain why you are voting in favor of this motion, so that other delegations who are voting against know why they should vote in favor of your draft resolution. So let's say I am the delegation of the United States of America, and I said in favor with right of explanation. Then I can say the delegation of the United States is in favor of draft resolution A1, because the delegation of the USA considers that it is the draft resolution that can actually solve this problematic matter, where the other draft resolution is not as accurate as the resolution that the delegation of the USA is being part of. That is an example. You can say that, or you can only say because you can say whatever, literally. But if you don't want to say anything, then you just vote in favor. Now, if there are more than one delegations who want to use the right of explanation, either if the vote is in favor or against, they will establish their explanation in alphabetical order. So let's say it was the United States, Canada, and China. So um, since Canada is first in C is first in the alphabet, then Canada will go first, then China, because the official name is People's Republic of China, and goes before U, and then the United States of America. But everyone has a right of explanation if you are a member of the country. Sorry, a member of the committee. Then that is basically it. If the resolution paper passes, then the president will say, delegates counting with 10 votes in favor and 2 against, the resolution paper A1 clearly passes. Congratulations, delegates, we have a resolution paper, and you will be really happy because that is what we want to do. We want to have a resolution, so you're going to be happy, I promise. And if it does not pass, you are not going to be happy because basically you must come to an agreement. You need to have a resolution. And something that may inspire you or motivate you to have a good resolution, it is that since we have a collaboration with the CINU, which is the information standard for the United Nations for Mexico, Cuba, and the Dominican Republic, our resolutions actually go to the United Nations. So they can be actually taken into consideration in the discussion of the actual United Nations. So that is really important, and that is something that I consider at least that it is something magnum. It is something that we get to actually participate in the international politics. So that is something that I just want to say. If that motivates you, amazing. And we have had really good resolutions throughout the state. So, just saying that. And the last motion is to close the session. When the time of the session is going to be up, then the only motion in order will be to close the session, and it is the same process. So that is regarding the motions. Are there any questions right now? I am going to, and we're just done. Near done, sorry. No? Yes, we're almost done. Okay, let's go to the extraordinary protocol, which is regarding rights and points. First, we have the right of reply. The right of reply is if you specifically, is there any microphone on? Well, if you have been specifically offended by something that other delegations said about your delegation, you can ask for a right of reply. And you need to write down the motives of why has your delegation been offended. So let's say United States said China was unfunctional or whatever, or was having hypocrisy actions. So the delegation of China has all the right to be offended. So then the delegation of China will ask for a right of reply, will write down the motives, and will send it to the chair. If a right of reply comes to the chair, then the president will say that the chair has received this right of reply from what delegation and to what delegation, and the president will explain the motives and will ask for the delegation that offended to ask for an apology. Then the president will ask the delegation who was offended to either say if that delegation accepted or not accepted the apology. If it accepted, that let's say the delegation of China accepts, then it is thank you. And if not, then the it will happen nothing unless the same delegation has had 3 rights of reply. If I am the delegation of the United States and I have 3 rights of reply already, then I will receive a warning. So that is as far as the right of reply. Then we have the point of parliamentary inquiry. This is basically used when you have a question regarding either the topics, the protocol, or if you don't know how to say a word in English, let's say. So, in this point specifically, you cannot interrupt another delegate, and if you want to ask for a point of parliamentary inquiry, you just raise your hand and wait for the moderator or the president to give you the word, and then the moderator, let's say the moderator said delegation of France, point of parliamentary inquiry, establish, and then I say, for example, to when can it be in order to open moderated caucus? There are questions about the protocol or these language questions, or even if you don't know what a motion is. If I don't know what a moderated caucus is, then I can ask for the chair to explain me what is a moderated caucus. Okay? So that is
Questions.
yes.
So João Victor says, guys, do we need to send you that paper with the positions of our respective delegation?
Sorry, let's
The paper.
yes, the position papers, yes. Just ask your chair, where can you send it? As far as I know, it should have been sent already, but I don't know. It may be depending on the committee. But ask your chair. But you need to provide the position paper to the chair so that we can check that is right. Because if you have something wrong in your position paper, then you are going to be wrong the whole committee. So that is why we collect the position papers. Is the question solved? Or not? Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Then we'll be moving forward with the point of order. The point of order is when the chair, specifically the chair, has made a mistake or a delegate has made a mistake, but it is specifically for the chair. Let's say that it was time for the delegate of Mexico to speak in the speakers list, but the chair asked the delegation of Syria to turn on their microphone and speak in the speakers list. Then the delegation of Mexico can establish a point of order because the chair was mistaken. So let's say, and that is really important that in this point, you can interrupt any delegate and you only raise your hand until the moderator gives you the word. So you raise your hand and the moderator will say, yes, delegation of Mexico, point of order. Then the moderator will say establish, and the delegate will say the delegation of Mexico was next in the speakers list. And then the chair obviously will corroborate. And if that was true, then it will say, yes, delegate, sorry, you are in order, or whatever. And it is important that you do not abuse of this point because it can be actually annoying for some delegations, or there are some delegates that establish a point of order when a delegate is speaking in first person. That is something that is the actual responsibility of the chair, so it is not actually necessary. Please abstain from using it a lot. It must not be abused of. So some of the common points of order are the chair forgot a step in the protocol, this case where a delegate spoke in first person, but please abstain, it is quite annoying. A delegate was skipped during the speakers list, or the chair confused a delegation with another. Or there could be more. Then we have the point of personal privilege. This is where this can be used where any extraordinary situation is affecting directly to the delegation. Let's say that the delegate of Canada is speaking really soft and I cannot hear that delegate. So I can ask for a point of personal privilege so that the delegation of Canada can raise the voice. So let's say I am Canada and moderator will say delegation of Canada. I will say point of personal privilege. The moderator will say establish, and I will say then for the delegation to of I forgot of Colombia to raise their voice, and then you're another delegation of Colombia. Please raise your voice. Okay, and this also can interrupt another delegates, but There is also an invitation. If there are no urgent petitions, you can ask the chair privately. So let's say that you want to go to the bathroom. Like we as delegates do not want to know, I do not have the need to know that you want to go to the bathroom. So you can only send a private message to the chair of the delegation of friends want to go to the bathroom. That's it. So please only establish these points when they are urgent. Then some of the most common points of personal privilege are to open a brief
Hey,
preamble.
sorry, Mongo needs to go to sleep. So yeah, thank you
Yes,
everyone for being
thank you,
here.
Mongo.
Yeah.
Good night. And well, some of the points of personal privilege are to open a brief preamble when you are asking a question, to reestablish a question, to reestablish an answer, or to ask for a delegation to speak louder, to restate, or whatever. And when you arrive late and the session has already started and the roll call has been taken, the delegate must apologize for being late. Now, we understand that due to the technical issues, maybe you can arrive late because you did not have internet or whatever. You need to tell the chair that you were having technical issues, and in that case, you do not need to apologize. Or, for example, let's say that Rebecca right now just her internet stops working, and of course she will get out of the session, but then she returns and says to the chair, "Oh, sorry, the internet was failing." There is no problem. You just join again. Absence of camera. We know also that maybe since you're in your house, in your home, extraordinary situations can happen. So let's say your mom is calling you, or your dog is eating something, or whatever. You need to do something, so you can turn off your camera, sorry, but just for a little time until you solve that extraordinary issue. And last, this goes specifically to the members of the Security Council, specifically to the five permanent members. The P5 have the right of veto. And in this protocol, you can only use your right of veto in two cases. First, if the resolution paper is trespassing the sovereignty of one or more nations, or second, if the resolution paper is a threat to international peace and security. So let's say that the resolution paper, in some case that I don't know if it can happen or if we would approve it, let's say that the resolution paper proposed war. So you can veto that, and that's it. And if you want to use the right of veto, you need to have a letter and a document with the motives of why you want that resolution paper to be vetoed, and you need to send it immediately after the resolution paper that you want to veto passed to your president, so that the president can read and know if it should be approved or not. So if this happens, oh sorry, my camera is off. If this happens, the president will say, delegates, the chair has received a right of veto from the delegation of Russia against resolution paper A1. We remind you that the right of veto can only be used if the resolution paper is trespassing the sovereignty of any delegation or if it is a threat, blah, 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 blah. And then the president will let you know if um, it will be approved or not. If it is approved, then the resolution paper will not be valid. If it is not approved, then nothing will happen. And that is basically it. Are there any questions?
I don't think so. Till now. But if you guys have any questions, you can either text your chair or text us to MX Moon page on Instagram. I don't know if you guys are already following it. MX MUN. Wait, I'm sending it just to Sophie. This one. So make sure you follow us, guys. I will be also posting stuff when the model starts and everything. And if you have any questions and you cannot contact your chair, you can text us there and we will reply as soon as we see the message or anything.
Yes, and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, for coming. And if there's anything else.
Yes, and we wish you the best. If you have any question, Rebecca just said, we are here to serve you all. So, if there are no questions, you can be free to leave the session.